big fan of polls. I think that history shows, especially as you get closer to the election, the polls get narrower. They get closer to where things
to the truth.
To the truth, yeah. So I think where they are at the moment, that looks pretty representative of what I believe is going to happen. What I'm hearing on the ground is going to happen. Obviously, the big move below 50% is that 10%, 10.9% mark in Controversies, the MK party. But you'd imagine just about all of those votes come straight off the ANC, if one could use.
So basically, they would have had 51%. If there was no MK. It
would have been somewhere there. But I use a measure that's always served me pretty well, engaging the temperature. And that is, you look at the poll in the last election or two and you say to yourself, has that party done well since that election, since that last election? If they've done well, then perhaps they'll go up. If they haven't done well, then they won't hold their support that they had in the last election. And I think that by any measure, the ANC has done quite poorly since 2019. And, they have not really made any progress. The last local government election, which I know is not a general election, they polled 47%. So, and they haven't done well since then. Lackluster leadership, one scandal after the other. This doesn't surprise me at all, and it's more or less in line with the thinking that I've had on this topic.
Navari, you share those sentiments?
No, look,
your colleagues have already written your...
I really think that they're quite a bit sensational.
What is sensational? The poll?
The polls, yeah. I don't think that they are reflective of the reality. If you are to have looked at the recent past, how the president has been accepted in KwaZulu-Natal by a huge number of people. If you check the last week when he was in Gauteng, the huge crowds were following him. I think what South Africans normally do, and this is a noisy urban population, which is quite on Twitter, they are quite on a lot of social media spaces. They speak a lot, but they don't speak in behalf of the voters. And they always say we when they speak. And I don't think that they speak on behalf of South Africans. South Africans are quite very, well, disappointed in larger extent, but I think they're still confident that the ANC can deliver a better life for all. You know why? It's because it has been tried and tested over a period of time. It's not equivalent to run a spaza shop to run a country.
Okay.
Remember, we're at a point of 2 years lockdown. At COVID. Now the economy is rising back to the post-COVID standing. And there are a lot of people who are coming back to work. If you look at the areas, rural areas, I am from rural areas. Where I used to go to school, I used to walk 10 kilometers. Today, I've got 3 secondary schools within the 50-meter radius, 2 primary schools. So our kids don't cross the river anymore where I come from. I've got electricity now at home. And I always used to walk in the dark at night. I've never seen that. These are people from rural areas who know what the ANC does for them. To just brush it off by polls like that, I don't think that it will be possible.
All right.
But also, just before you come in, but also if you look at the trend, and I think I like the input of the local government aspect. If you look at the trend since 1994, the number of local government are not normally equivalent to the number of national elections.
I was going to say, how do you explain the 45%? If you're talking about increased confidence and so on, don't you think that 45% was a warning shot by the public to the ANC?
No, the turnout in local government is always very low. And we've always got lower number. I don't remember ANC getting more than 50-something% in local government over a period of time. It's quite difficult. If you did, it was 50, 51, 52. So it's not a measure for national election. Yeah. But also if you look at the trend of how the ANC has been going down, it can't be more than 10%.
I mean at the time?
No, over a period of time. I mean, this should be scientific. I mean, we can't use common sense to determine the outcome of election. We have a reference that we can use. So even if the ANC goes down, which it might not, it will surprise many actually, it will be within the region of 55% in this coming election. I don't think that
do you agree with that? That your assessments may not be based on the ground reality? Because he's saying, if you look at what basic things have been delivered to rural communities, they may simply not be worried about your sophistication. They may just be worried about the fact that I didn't have water, I have water now. I didn't have a roof, I have a roof over my head now.
Yes. I think it goes back to what I said in the initial comment, to say a lot of us are sick and tired, but some of us are not sick and tired enough. And the examples that he mentioned make sense. You know, when you look at electricity and you consider, I didn't have electricity so many years ago. We now have 3 schools. Before, we didn't have these schools. I think in the lives of certain citizens, the standard is so low that the poor performance of the ANC, the incompetence of the ANC, the corruption of the ANC goes, you know, it goes unnoticed. Yeah, they're stealing, but at least I have some water. Yeah, they're stealing, but at least I have 1 school. But do you know that you should have 10 more schools? Do you know that these schools that you have, that you're so happy about, is so low standard that even after your child is out of the school, they don't stand a chance in the competition of the world. So I think that standard is so low that a lot of our people see good in somebody that they should be booting out.
I don't agree.
So
JJ.
the standard, okay, hang on, let me just get, Mike, do you agree with that, that the standard, the bar has been set low, so low that it can even itself, as low as it is, be used as something to of self-praise by the ANC?
Yeah, and that's why, you know, when President Ramaphosa started his campaign, which was a State of the Nation speech, he started off by talking about the changes over 30 years, not over the last 5. Yeah, which is what he should have been speaking about. But to pick up on a point that Katlego made, which I think is important, and that is, you know, if you give somebody something, people are grateful for it. So sure, those people that didn't have electricity and now have electricity are grateful for it. But if you give somebody something and then later take it away from them, it makes them twice as angry as they were when they didn't have it. And that's what we've got, for example, with load shedding. People get accustomed to having electricity. Now you're only giving electricity sometimes. We've got the similar thing with water. We've got a similar thing with potholed roads.
All right, before I go to a break, I want Navar to just respond to that issue about the standard, because there's always this thing that says things are better since 94.
Yeah, I want to ask
there's always going back to 94, almost comparing the ANC today with the apartheid government that didn't care about us in 1993.
Quite sad that black people think in this fashion. It's quite very disturbing, actually, because she must tell us which she's comparing the ANC with what. Well, that's a very important question. Look, and then she speaks about low quality. And I don't agree with that low quality aspect, because, I mean, that's generalization, to be honest with you. If you go to the Stats SA outcome, it will tell you that for the first time, South Africans, 98% of South Africans have infrastructure of piped water. Piped water. It might not be going out. Fair. That we can discuss the reasoning behind it. 96% of 98% of South Africans have electricity today. That can't be less quality. That's what defines the standard of living. So I'm just saying, so let's not just have a generalization when we deal with issues. Let's get specifics and say, no, in this area, this has been done. Let's use a complementary contradictory approach, because we can't say there's nothing has been done.
No one
to me,
said nothing has been done.
To me, that is quite very, very problematic. But the point I'm trying to drive through is that even this notion of quality is relative.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's deal with it fundamentally in terms of the approach that we must
agree
use.
that our education system is objectively not qualitative? When I say objectively, I'm saying you've conducted surveys, international surveys that says our kids can read or write. In fact, some in the manifesto, some parties say we need to make sure that our grade 4s and 5s can read and write for meaning. That's a very serious indictment.
Quite very important. That's why the ANC
Section
now
27 has come up with a report that shows you the dilapidated schools. Actually, in KZN, they banned down 140 schools. That just for good measure, right? But you're talking about kids who are still studying under trees or mobile units, etc. So would that be the quality you're talking about, in that, yes, you can tick a box that says there are schools, but when you zone in, you have schools that don't have libraries. In fact, I think some 70% of schools don't have a library. I don't know. I don't know whether that's still the case, because that may be an old statistic. No laboratories. And that's part of what justifies why you have 2 parallel systems of examination. You comment on that?
Yeah. So just for clarity, I did not say that they have not done anything, because they have done some things.
A lot.
Yes.
Just say a lot, yeah.
let's just say they've done a lot, but that lot is not enough. And compared to what? Let's not even go internationally. Let's just compare within South Africa. Let's compare our public schools to our private schools. Let's compare the education level there. Let's compare the number of teachers there. Let's compare the infrastructure, the libraries, the labs, the ability for children to read, to do their mathematics with understanding, to calculate and to read. Let's compare at the final year, grade 12 student in public school, grade 12 student in private school. The chances of the private school child getting a bursary because they were helped, because they were given the resources, right, is higher. And I know that even in public schools, they do get bursaries, right? But it's just so much harder for that child to get it. The exposure to the various programs that are out there, to the various careers that the children can be exposed to. I don't think our public school children get that, and that is so unfair.
Okay.
Argument from the point of privilege. I think I'll come into this point because I think this is an argument from a point of privilege.
Wait, I need to take a break. It's getting heated out here at Power to Truth. It's all of this is Tinigo, tonight here on Power to Truth. An election special of Citizen Roundtable tonight, as the citizens are taking each other on at the backdrop of those polls that are beginning to speculate essentially about how the election outcome will be like. Do you wanted to quickly respond before I give Mike a chance?
Yeah, just quickly to respond to Katlego, and we'll discuss it. I mean, she argues from the point of privilege, and it's quite fair because of probably the social standing in society. There's no way anywhere in the world where you can compare public and private education system. And for obvious reasons, that government run the biggest public education system ever in South Africa. Kids who go to public school, many of them are coming from a very poor background. They don't pay tuitions, don't pay school fees. And there's a reason why they don't do it. There's a historical context to that. And I can't dwell into it because we're going to spend much time discussing that. But secondly is that even if you check the private education system, I know Kuro, for instance, people take kids to Kuro, and many of them are not really even comparable speaking with people who come from Mbiru school, for instance, in a rural deep Limpopo, who actually do well in maths and science, who even compete toe-to-toe with people who come from private school. So private school is more about money expenditure that parents do invest on their children's education, but doesn't negate the fact that there are quality public institutions, public schools that produce the best of the learners in this country. In fact, the public service in this country, including private, is created by the public school. So this notion that there's a difference in terms of education system is not there. It's a myth that we must debunk.
No. We can debunk it. Mike, can you just weigh in on that? I mean, surely there is a problem with our education system, despite that it's the highest budget item on the national budget. If you look at the concoction of things from, poor environment, poor security, poor facilities, schools that don't even have a football pitch in front of them. A football pitch is literally grass. They don't have it. They have to, walk on stones. Right now, that can't be. There can't be an excuse for such a thing.
Yeah, and we haven't even touched on the very emotional issue of children dying in pit latrines. That's obviously something that will always set back an incumbent government when that kind of things happened after it's been promised for years that it would be attended to.
They'll get rid of it, It's a standing state of a nation promise. We're going to get rid of pit latrines.
Yeah, but I think, there's two aspects here. One, of course, has been the absolute protection, if we're talking education, of the SA Democratic Teachers Union, which has held the education system hostage for 30 years. They don't want teachers to be assessed. They don't want, there's been every progress.
Is that a fact? SATU doesn't want teachers assessed.
They do. They don't want inspectors in schools. They have consistently fought against having inspectors in schools. That's why we don't have inspectors in schools. It's another election issue which has sort of fallen off the bandwagon. But just in general, I think there's another issue that has to be mentioned, and it hasn't been mentioned yet, and that is South Africa has some of the highest rates of tax. And all of our citizens are paying tax. It's not just the elite. You go, you're going to pay, what have we got, VAT now at 15% every time you buy a chocolate at a shop. Every time you buy just about anything in your basket, you're giving money to the government.
Yes.
And money is given to the government in good faith that they're going to deliver on what they have said they're going to deliver.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? And every year we've got these issues. You've got this massive budget for education, a massive budget for safety and security, a massive budget for roads and infrastructure. And I don't have to tell you how this story ends, because we live this nightmare every day. 80 people get murdered every day in South Africa. We took Israel to the ICJ
Yeah.
because 20,000 people had been killed at that point. Well, 30,000 people are going to get killed this year. Who's going to take our Minister of Police to the ICJ? You know, these are the issues that the government seems to be completely tone deaf. And that's why I'd be surprised that to see that they're still getting 40%. But it is, to Mr. Navari's point, that person is very excited because they've got one tap.
Yes.
As we saw the president watching a tap open in a village. That tap is great. The villagers are grateful for the one tap. But to
There's
your point,
more.
Katlego, they should have known that there was money set aside for taps in every house. Instead,
Years
we got
ago.
the
Yeah.
president excited about opening one tap.
No, I
It
think-
sounds
No, but it sounds, you see, that's what I'm
horrific,
saying.
Navari.
But it's just quite too sensational. And I think that's a problem I have with South Africans.
Yeah.
That's why we can't pursue anything and conclusively deal with it, because we're always sensational. I want to give you a classical example of the Guyana project, for instance. And I know many people have been making noise about it,
Yeah.
delayed for many years.
Yeah, for over a decade.
Yes, I agree with you. Many problems there.
Yeah.
But you see what has been delaying it now since 2021 is that the Minister of Water and Sanitation was very clear. I'm not going to deliver bulk from Nandoni to Mtsami and not deliver taps in the houses. And there's a statistic about how ANC government have been doing that. I'm so go and read Stats SA and the outcome of it. You can then know that one
so
tap.
that minister is contradicting the government, because it's been the same government. So you talk
No,
as if
it's not about-
it was a fresh party that came and
No,
said,
no,
these guys
no.
are doing a wrong
No,
thing.
no, no, no.
They don't want taps.
You see the problem that, and I can tell in many issues that we are dealing with here, was stuck on the pre-Ramaphosa's era. And we don't agree with the fact that there's been a period.
But Ramaphosa didn't fall from the sky.
Wait,
It's
JJ.
from the
Don't
ANC.
interject me. Let me explain.
No,
to
you'll
you.
interject that. You'll
Yeah.
interject that. It's a debate.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to do is that I want to display the fact that when we argue, in many instances,
Yeah.
we don't use facts. You argue out of sensationalization. And
Like what? Give us
he's
something else
thinking
of the
about the
fact.
tap that the president had opened.
Yeah, he did open a
Johannesburg.
tap.
No, that tap is part of the taps that I saw with my own eyes of the area in that deep rural areas. No government has ever done that. Which the ANC government
But it's only been the ANC government.
delivered to the rural deep areas, a
Yeah.
tap in the house. I'm saying there's a statistics South Africa. If we doubt that, it's fine. That it's saying 98% of South Africa now have access to clean water.
Yeah.
And the tap is a decision that the ANC government has took, that we don't only deliver bulk from national space. We're now going to deliver taps.
So the tap is in the
houses.
yard.
Yes, in the yard.
Yeah, okay.
Go to Guyana. We can take a drive to Guyana when you're not working, JJ. You will see that a deep rural village, even where I come from, I've got a tap now. A deep rural village has a tap.
But
Yeah.
why are you saying
Yes, but I'm
it
saying
as if
no,
having a
but this
tap
aspect
is
that
so
the president was
special?
opening a tap,
Yeah.
you can't open 20,000 of them in the same time. It's a display of that water is coming out in the village. I mean, you want us to open, the president must open all the tap, water must go out. I mean,
Okay.
how do you do that?
You
Let's
want
just get
us-
real in our argument.
You
Okay,
want
Leo,
us to
come in there.
You want us to celebrate and clap hands for the president for having tabs, be it 10 or 10,000 tabs, when he's had 30 years, maybe not him particularly, but the ANC. It seems to me like you want us to celebrate things that should have been there. The minute they got into power, they should have prioritized giving us tabs, giving us electricity, giving us education, and all the things that we didn't have before 1994.
So she's not listening to me. I'm saying let her read, because you see, reading is important. We don't argue in common sense here. And I know that this is a general thing, because people like this sensationalization. They like this noise. I'm saying go and read Stats SA.
Please,
Outcome of the delivery of ANC government in 30 years with regard to just two basic things, water and electricity, fundamental, those two things. I can even go deeper into certain aspects.
Navari, don't go deeper for now.
Yeah,
I just want Mike to comment on here. At the back of that comment, the Auditor General, okay, in 3 successive reports,
Yes.
right? And this comes to the issue about quantity versus quality. In 3 successive reports said that 50% of municipalities don't have a water management plan. And 49% don't have a sanitation plan. Now that's a disaster. Okay, because that's what causes Hammanskraal, where people are dying. There's water, but it's deadly. that the CSIR has said this water is not fit for human consumption. So I just want us to be on the same page about the fact that you can't say nothing has been done, but what is done is not enough. Mike?
Yeah, you know, I think, you know, JJ, we are ahead of an election. The ANC is polling really low. And what many of the citizens out there, including us, are hearing is, yeah, but we're on it. Just give us another 30 years.
Yeah.
We are saying we haven't progressed far enough, fast enough to Katlego's points. We could have been way ahead. This has affected every part of South African life.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've got an economy that can't grow because we can't grow without electricity.
Yeah. Well, what do you think the ANC got right? And Navari, what do you think the ANC got wrong? Start.
Hard to see. You've got to say it got right.
In 30 years, so they must have gotten something right where you say, here it's well done, man. You've done well. You've built stadiums, for example. You know, beautiful international stadiums that can generate jobs. You have increased the tourism rate. This country used to have 900,000 tourists. It has 11 million a year. I'm just picking two that I can remember. Is there anything that occurs to you that has happened in 30 years that you think at least this was done right?
No, I can't. I literally cannot think of anything that was done right in terms of bang for buck. The job that they were voted in to do, the money that they had to do it with.
But I gave you two examples of tourism. For every 8 tourists, there's one job.
Okay, so let's talk about tourism.
Yeah.
Is tourism driven by the state or is tourism driven by the private sector?
But it is, it's a partnership.
It seems to me, okay, so what has been government's role in there? The airline doesn't work. Security is terrible.
The airline thing is recent. The SAA has been working for more than 90 years.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that in terms of what the government has done towards building that figure, you've got crime through the roof. You've got an airline that doesn't work. You've got home affairs that can't process visas. You've got a failure at just about everything. In actual fact, I turn that statement around and say that our tourism numbers are up despite government, not because of government.
Okay, now I'm not winning with you. Navarro, what do you think? What do you think the ANC got wrong? Because you seem to, you know, have long praise singing about what they've done. Surely, if you analyze, you'll be able to say, here we got something wrong. What is that?
I'm a very active citizen.
Yeah.
And actually, I go throughout the country, seeing the reality and the challenges of our people. One thing that I can speak even with my comrades, and I tell them this every day. And I think at some point in your show, I spoke about it with you. Remember these words. I say, if we were to get South Africa working, the economy working, we need to get the local government right.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the ANC did well there. And
on local government.
Local government. And
where they lost all the metros the last time
I
around.
want to explain why they've not done so well. And I know that it can be viewed as politicking. I don't think that there was an understanding that the local sphere of government is the most important sphere of government more than the national government and provincial government.
So you deployed poor comrades there and deployed the best ones at national and province.
Exactly. I don't think the best of our cadres are in local government. I don't think the best of our skills are in local government. Like he said,
where are the best of
where
your
are
cadres?
they?
Where are they?
No, the cadres, I'm not referring to members of the ANC. No, I know that the cadre is a very strong word, and many people think that we are referring to ANC. Cadre, I mean that people who work in the state itself.
Where were these good cadres? Were they running Transnet or Eskom or SAA?
No,
where were these good cadres?
Let me explain to you. Because, you know, you like to be general in a discussion. I'm saying in terms of the delivery of services, local government, that's the point we're dealing with now. Local government is the most important sphere of government. And when I travel around the country, for instance, I went to one municipality where we found out there was no single water engineer in that municipality, and it's a water service authority. That can't be correct, because water is life. Water is the basic service that people must get. And that's the reason why, in my view, we have lack of infrastructure maintenance in the local government. And I'm saying the ANC has not done well there.
Yeah.
And I think even when the ANC sit, I'm not defending the ANC. I'm saying when the ANC sit, I'm sure they discuss local government every day.
So are you saying that the best are in the national government?
That's not my point.
No, but this is my question.
Okay. I'm saying the best of our cadres in political leadership positions
Yes.
are in the provincial and national government. I can tell you that.
And this is the best that they can do right now.
Yes.
The infrastructure, the state of infrastructure right
No,
now.
that's
the
another
best.
discussion. You see,
No,
don't
sir,
conflate discussions. That's
Please
the problem.
answer the question that I'm asking you. If
Yeah.
you are saying that at national level we have the best of the ANC, and this is the status of the potholes, of the infrastructure, of the hospitals, of the schools, that is the best that the ANC can
So
do.
if you listen to me, you'll have listened
Please
to me properly.
answer my question.
Yes, I want to explain to you. Local government, okay, the water crisis in Johannesburg is not a national government. It's a matter of Johannesburg. The water crisis in Tshwane is not national government.
So
Alright, guys,
so
what
let me
have the
explain to you.
best
Take a
done?
break.
What have the best
No,
done?
wait, but there's legislations and rules in this country. Don't
Guys,
just
sorry,
run
I have to
over.
take a break. After the break, I want us to zone in on the issue of jobs and the economy, right? But also start talking about what are the alternatives. Do you guys see any alternative? I want you to analyze, take your, your usual head off and just say, all right, let's say the ANC gets 30, right? Who's going to be the alternative? And let's look at those the polls again and see whether or not the number of parties that are there are offering any solutions, and we can zone in on jobs and the economy as a measure of saying this can be the alternative. It's Power to Truth. We are here every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 8 p.m. speaking truth to power and conducting conversations that build. Citizens tonight have their say across all political issues. Let's talk. I want us to move towards an alternative. What do you see as alternative to the ANC? Is that even fathomable? Are we at that point as a country where we can start, imagining South Africa, beyond the ANC, or maybe an ANC that's diluted, or an ANC that's coalescing with the DA, maybe, so that you, in a sense, have a combined or a joined-up government of some sort. Let's start with you, Mike.
JJ, you said something very profound when I hosted you on my show, and that is that you said it's not whether you want coalitions or not, they're going to happen. And I do think at least one thing that the coalitions will do is have more eyes on the performance of government. You wouldn't be allowed to have a Speaker of Parliament who's compromised in a coalition arrangement, because the coalition partner would get tarnished with the same brush. So there's hope. There's hope that the coalitions bring more scrutiny to what government has done. Up until now, for the last 30 years, the ANC has largely been able to act with impunity, and they have. In every respect, every time we've had the Zondo Commission and nothing has happened to the politically connected politicians who are still sitting in Parliament, many of them. And that's because of the impunity of power. That's disappearing in a month's time.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it's going to make a dramatic difference to the way the country's governed.
Yeah. All right, it's disappearing, and then what's appearing? What is your conception of what could be an alternative, in your view?
I think what could be an alternative is that our politicians must start behaving like adults. Really. They're going to have to behave like adults, not to see the coalitions that we've seen in some of the metros that have been terribly destabilizing and so on. But I think...
So no one party you think can or go past the 50, so they'll have to work together?
They'll have to work with somebody, because not only will no party go below 50, but according to your numbers, we talk about the biggest party having 40%. That's a big
chunk.
That's a big chunk out of their majority. And, which means that whoever they work with, they've got some real answerability. That means that people that put their name to that partnership are going to be held accountable. And I think
they could just partner with MK, then is the ANC back in power.
Can I ask you before you go, if you believe in majority rule? Do you believe in majority rule?
Sure.
Okay,
I'm a Democrat.
So you still believe that the ANC must still remain in power?
Yeah, but they're not a majority.
But you believe that they must still remain in power?
I'm saying that whoever can get more than 50% will be in power. It's not me deciding that. I'm saying it's whoever decides.
Okay, Katleho, what do you see as an alternative? I mean, you have a hammer out for the ANC, a hammer out for the EFF. You don't seem to see them for anything. What would be your ideal government post-29?
Okay, you said we're going to talk about our economy, and talking economics, we need to consider the policies that speak to economics that each party has.
Yeah.
Right? We know that ANC, EFF, and MK lean more towards communism, right? Communist ideas, right? And if we want a successful economy as South Africans, we should run away from those people. I know that a lot of people believe in these parties. I know that a lot of South Africans think that these are the parties that hold the hope for South Africa.
Yeah.
But it's not about our ideas. It's not about what we think and what we like. It's about the facts. Communism does not work. And whether they openly say we are for communism, their policies say so. The results of their policies say so. We want a successful economy. We should run away.
So run away from anything socialist, communist, run away. So you are left with DA and IFP then.
And Action SA.
And Action SA.
And
So you think those,
ACDP.
that so basically you're advocating for the multi-charter. You think the multi-charter is a sensible way to go?
Absolutely.
Why? Why? Don't you think that the issues of, for example, redress are going to be stuck? And those redress issues are the ones that are going to exclude other people from the economy. You don't think that the multi-charter may have that blind spot?
Okay, I think in everything that we do, right, as we are voting, as we are picking whatever we are picking, there's never a perfect solution, right?
Okay.
There's always what we call trade-offs, right?
Yeah.
And we need to know what are we trading off. In terms of certain people, and I believe you're talking to certain races being excluded economically, that is what you're saying, right, is the danger of the multi-party. We keep saying that, and as my partner here has mentioned, let's talk scientifically. What is the evidence that we have that makes us believe that the multi-party charter is going to exclude black people economically? Apart from what people are saying, what evidence do we have? Why do we keep saying that?
Well, they said they're going to end affirmative action.
Yeah.
They said they want to do away with BEE.
Okay, may I
Employment
respond?
equity, therefore
Employment
actually
equity.
they're going to court to reverse
today.
employment
Yes.
equity.
I mean, that's a fact.
And yes, it's a fact. Thank you for mentioning that. Let's talk about affirmative action. Let's talk about BEE. How many people, in reality, normal citizens like myself, have benefited from BEE? In reality, we talk about BEE and we make it seem like black people are benefiting because of BEE, while in reality, it is a select few that are connected to the comrades that benefit from BEE. The removal of BEE will allow all of us to come with our merits and show that, yes, I can build this bridge. Yes, I have what it takes to play this role and that role. Currently, this BEE that we are saying is helping black people, is helping a few black people, while the rest of us, because we are not connected to the ANC, EFF, and MK, are left in the dark.
Look, JJ, it's very interesting, and I like Katleho. I think we are going to be good friends. Her arguments are purely based on a point of privilege, and I'll emphasize that. And she must take this home and sleep on the pillow and think about it. Look, the argument that you are pursuing has not spoken about the aspect of social cohesion, right? And if you are to deal with the aspect of social cohesion, you will then understand why we need to have BEE and employment equity. It's a historical fact.
Educate me.
That blacks have been excluded in the mainstream economy for some times. And to redress those things, you need to have policy positions that deals with redress. Right? I want to conclude. I want to conclude. Let me just
yes, I want to put
and that's a principal position.
Yes.
The second aspect of it, JJ, is that the ANC is the movement of the people which encapsulate in it variety of tribal, entities, entities, diversities. So you must speak about the party that must take over South Africa must be able to have a social cohesion of this country. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem of lack of management of the country.
But you agree that the ANC has failed to implement the same affirmative action, the same employment equity, the same BEE.
No, I don't agree with that.
Why don't you agree? I mean, if you take employment equity, definitely it has failed.
I don't agree. It's work in progress. It's not going to be a miracle that those things happen in a short space of time. Yeah. There's also resistance from private companies, by the way. So it's not only on a public space. Because when people speak about equity, when they speak about BEE, when they speak about Labor Relations Act, they speak about government. And that's a problem. The state holistically, its approach is to manage both private and public.
All right, just pack the mic, just come in there. All right, Navari, let's give the others a chance.
You mentioned a very important word, and that is redress. And that is, the way I understand the point is that let's help poor people get wealthy, get out of this grinding poverty that many South Africans find themselves.
Will the multi-party do that?
Let me answer the question like this. This is my view, right? And it's not just a multi-party charter thing, and I'm going to throw this right back to you in a second. But the most important thing that this country could do right now is grow economically.
Yeah.
Right? Because with all of the policies, the discriminatory policies that we've had in South Africa for the last 30 years, whites are still at full employment. So therefore, it's not working if the aim was to make everybody equally poor, right? Let's rather focus on making this country wealthy for everybody. Let's create jobs that allows people to work for a living, the dignity of work, the dignity of opportunities, right? The red tape. We heard from President Ramaphosa more than 5 years ago about his red tape cutter. Sipho Nkosi, I don't know, this guy must be invisible. Not one piece of red tape has been cut, right? It's become impossible to do business in South Africa. Therefore, we've got a crazy unemployment rate. And all the redress in the world is not going to help. We are going to run out of money. We're struggling to pay people 370 Rand a month. That's a disgrace, right? It would be far better if the country had an economy that grew. Now, I'm going to throw it right back. In the early 2000s, when the same ANC did have policies that were hardly pro-business, but at least they weren't anti-business, the country was growing at 5%. So I'm saying that it's not just a multi-party charter thing, it's a common sense thing, back to Katlego's point. We just need to stop being so bad. We don't even have to be good, right? Yeah. And that would have a dramatic turnaround.
Yeah.
Let's not worry about the social
convinced. You're convinced that the alternative doesn't lie in socialist policies that look at inclusiveness. For example, the national health insurance, right? I'm sure the multi-party will say, no ways. Whereas if you look at the situation now, only 16% of the population is covered properly by private functional health system. The rest have to wait in line to die in hospitals that are not working and so on. I'm just dealing with this health thing. Yeah. If you can address that about how you will make that in a capitalist situation, because capitalism itself has failed. It's good that you say communism has failed, fine, but capitalism is also a failed system, because that's what we have had so far, and what are we sitting with? The most unequal society in the world. So how are you going to fix that inequality?
You can't, sorry, jumping in here. You can't say we're running, this is not a capitalism system that we're running in South Africa.
What are we running?
What is it?
We are running some kind of bureaucratic nightmare, right? A capitalist system allows people to run businesses freely, without limitations. It creates wealth. Yes. I'm not making this up. It happened in South Africa for nearly 10 years. Until the ANC decided to go down a different route.
Yes.
The point is, it was happening then. We were creating wealth, we were creating jobs, right? The unemployment rate dramatically decreased, and everything was at least functional. What we've got now, please don't insult the capitalist system and call this the capitalist system. This is a terrible
The capitalist system has failed all over the world.
No,
Sorry
sir.
to tell you.
Okay,
It's failed all over the world.
Okay, may I?
And on your side, tell me about China, because you're saying communism, you have put it in a dustbin.
Okay.
China is the second biggest economy in the world. Address that for me.
All right. I'm going to start with the redress. You mentioned that ANC is the best to have because they're the only ones that have policies in place to bring about inequality. They have, okay, thank you. They have the things in place. For example, in 1995, or is it 1994, they brought about the Land Restitution Act, which was brilliant. Right? People that could bring forth claims, they could come forth and then their land could be given back to them. People that didn't have claims but were in need of land, they too should have been given land. But the the policy on paper and in reality is something else. They have beautiful, may I finish? They have beautiful policies in place, right? But the action of it is something else. They bought those 6,000 farms saying that they are buying them from white people for the sake of us black people. But until today, the distribution to us is not taking place. I'm speaking from experience. My family was taken away from Valmanstal. And then when time came, we went to the land claims court. And then there's no one there, no white people staying there. It's free land. But when time came after our claim was said, okay, it's successful, successful, you can have the land back. The inefficiencies and the corruption of the people in charge ensured that people that didn't have any claim on that land now have it, and we are still sitting. No white person is there. Black people are sitting there. That's one. The second thing that you mentioned is that we need to, the health one. You mentioned about health.
Just give that as a case study.
NHI. Let's put NHI one side. They are rushing for NHI. They are asking for tax being just, you know what, it just lines up with the type of people that they are. Ask for more money and say that it is for a solution. What are you doing right now with the many hospitals that you have? Before you want to tell us that you want to buy 18 private hospitals, what are you doing with the hospitals that you have? Why is it that every time when you want to bring a solution, you want more money from people? You want to buy more things, right? Why is it
But
like
let's
that?
talk about the principle
Back
of
to China.
NHI, of inclusive health system that is not reliant on the size of your pocket, Katlo.
The private sector, the public hospital system, why is it not working? Why do we need NHI? Why can't I go to a public hospital, go give birth properly? I'm paying tax so that I can be served in a clinic, so that I can be served in a public hospital. Why can't I be served there? Why do we need NHI? If you are so great.
Will I respond to that?
No, look, it's very difficult to engage with the
Point of privilege.
Yeah, Katleho and my brother there, because I think their liberal approach to understanding of the functioning of the state is quite problematic. They are arguing that the state must not have anything to do with the redress of the past.
No.
So we're equal.
No, that's not true. You're lying. That is not true. That is not true.
So what do you mean that by the fact that capitalism is not the one that we have now, you need it more? Because capitalism doesn't have involvement of the state in terms of the affairs of the public.
It does.
Let's do that. Let's do this. Let me explain this thing to you, so that you understand the context that I want to deal with the issues that is raising. The ANC is not a capitalist nor a communist organization. The ANC is the movement of the people, and its responsibility, among other things, is to liberate blacks in general and Africans in particular. From what? From what you don't want to accept, the fact that there's not been a level, equal playing ground between blacks and whites for over a period of time.
We agree.
There is a need fundamentally to transform the economy in the interest of blacks.
I agree.
Blacks in general, Africans in particular. These are the people who were dispossessed over a period of time. And when you are sitting here and tell me how much apartheid government used to do well, I find it very strange.
We didn't say that. No one said that.
You can't say we. Don't speak in plural.
1, 2, 3 are on this panel. Speak to myself and speak to my...
I need guys, of round of time, I'm going to need your parting shot. Go on, give me your parting shot.
So the point I'm trying to drive through is that the ANC, if you look at those parties that you put there, I can mention them by names. There's no party there that matches the ANC delivery record. Or will ever match the ANC delivery record. For one reason, well, the ANC is very inclusive in its approach. The ANC approach is that we need to change the lives of many of South Africans.
All right.
But many of these parties are either private parties owned by individuals, are either tribal chauvinist parties, are either minority parties like the GA. They don't speak about majority black. They speak about pure minority in their interest.
As we go to 29.
Okay. On paper, the ANC is there for black people. In reality, they are there for themselves. Like I said, with the land, all the taxes that have been coming in, we should have had our land back. For example, my family should have its land back. Many people who lost their farms to white people, they should have their land back. But instead of doing that, they are pocketing the money. They are sitting with the 6,000 farms. Why are the farms not being given back? Are they planning to do what Robert Mugabe did and distribute the farms to his own friends? Why are we not getting our farms? You bought the farms. Why are they not being given to us? You know, in paper and in word, they are for black people. In reality, they are there for themselves. Otherwise, they would not be satisfied with getting millions every year, having all those motorcades. They would say, let me sacrifice this, let me be like you, let me also take my child to a public school.
Thank you. You can catch her on a podcast and what she says, beware of the comrades. That's Mike.
I've got a very simple test for many people that are unsure where to vote. And that is, look around in just about it used to only be white kids, but now it's no longer. Our best and our brightest are leaving the country.
Yeah.
Right? And where are they going to? Do you see them going to China? Do you
Nope.
see them going to Venezuela?
Nope.
Do you see them going to Cuba? Do you see them going to Russia? Right? Those are those authoritarian countries that in those countries, those economies will simply never grow. You talk about China, that place has got massive economic problems. That's a whole different discussion. Where are our brightest going to and why? They're going to places that offer them the best opportunities, where their property rights are secured, where they can run businesses, where their skills can be acknowledged. And those are not the countries represented by the parties that we're talking about.
We're going to have to leave it there. There's never enough time for these things, but thank you for a very dynamic conversation tonight. And I hope that the viewers have learned a lot from your perspectives. Thank you so much for coming. I'm sure you'll be back here on Power to Truth. You've heard for yourself, the Citizens Roundtable. We're going to have one more before the elections and bring another set of citizens to come and essentially reflect what you citizens at home may well be feeling. But until we talk frankly again, may God bless you.